Welcome to the channel if it's your first time here, and welcome back if it's not. Now in today's video, we're going to be looking at this. And this is a Super Nintendo that I have repaired previously. It was the one where I had a little bit of trouble and it scared me a little bit. I'll stick a link to the video up in the corner. It's now working perfectly, but it's got a common problem that the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom has. The shell is starting to go a sort of horrible beigey colour. And in today's video, which is sponsored by AliExpress, we're going to reshell this Super Nintendo. Now, I actually own two Super Nintendos. No, actually I own three Super Nintendos. There's this one, I've got another one that's working but got a really nice shell, and then I've got another one that doesn't work but the shell of it is completely destroyed. I think it's been dropped. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a nice new replacement shell, and then off camera I can use this shell to sort of tidy up the one that's broken, and hopefully maybe in a future video I'll give it a repair, maybe. So I was looking on AliExpress and I found this shell, which is a BitFunx Transparent Shell. Now, I kind of like transparent stuff because it's a sort of hail back to the sort of 2000s where a lot of stuff came slightly transparent and in different colors, and I've never reshelled a console like that before, so I thought I'm going to pick it up. It comes in several different colors. You've got a sort of white transparent, you've got a purple transparent, and you've got a black transparent, and I have gone for the black transparent. But what I'll also do is I'll put some coupon codes here on the screen that you can use at AliExpress to get some money off your next order. Now, the codes will have a certain length of life to them and an amount of uses, so use them as soon as the video comes out and you should be golden. But what I'll do is I'll make sure that I put some fresh codes in the video description for you to use if you're watching this in a few more months' time and those codes have expired. And what I'll do is I'll make sure the link to this product is in the video description as well, so you can pick one up or pick one up in one of the different colors. And here is our replacement shell, and it's a custom replacement shell for Super Famicom or Super Nintendo. Now mine has got this on the top of it, but we'll come back to that in a moment and see what that is like. So let's get it out of the box and see what we get inside. Now, I know that people will really love the original shells and stuff like that and probably be mad at me for taking this one out of a shell, but I'm going to use it eventually to repair one that has a damaged shell that can't be fixed. And it's my Super Nintendo. I can do what I like with it. Wow, okay, so that's really great. At the top there, we've got some screwdrivers, because the Super Nintendo has a sort of game bit screws on the outside, and I think inside it's got some Phillips head screws, so that's good. Oh, okay, so this is for the cartridge eject mechanism. Oh my word, that is so cool. I love that. So if we lift the top off, let's see what we've got inside. Now, this kit does require a little bit of fettling if you're going to go the whole hog and replace everything, which I'm going to do in this video, but you don't have to. But if you do want to go crazy, or do it properly, you do need a soldering iron at the very least and some solder. So on an original Super Nintendo, this piece is actually part of the motherboard, I think, because it's something to do with the power connector. Now, you can just take your existing Super Nintendo motherboard out with the grey bit of plastic intact, and you don't need to do any soldering. But because I want to do this job fully, I'm going to take the grey bit of plastic off the board and solder in a new DC jack. But we'll look at that properly when I get to it. So we have got an entire replacement front with the actual board as well that controls the controls. That's amazing. So yeah, you can have a fully transparent controller port, which I think is really cool. And yeah, this is the cable for the board, and we've got some 3M tape there because there's a sort of magnetic ferrule ring, ferrite, something. There's a little ring that's on the existing board that goes there. But yeah, that's really cool. So you get a complete replacement control board, which is nice. Got some replacement screws. Now these are the sort of game bit screws. So these are the screws that go on the outside we will need to transfer the inside ones into our case. But yeah, the quality is just fantastic. It's good thick plastic. I'd say it's probably the sort of thickness of the original. Now let's have a little look in this bag. Now, I think early versions of the kit did not have these included, but BitFunx listened to people and look at that. So there we go. We have got replacement stickers. I think I might get Vicky to do these because I'm rubbish at stickers. Yeah, I'm not sure which one I prefer, but it's good to have an option of both. I think this is a bit like cricket, where you've got the kind of adhesive on the back and then you've got a kind of transfer tape on the top. But yeah, I think I'm going to get Vicky to do that for me, probably off camera because she won't want to be on camera. Or you can just leave it completely bare. You don't need to have these stickers on. And here we've got some replacement DC jacks, because if we are going to be putting this transparent version of the back plate on, we need to desolder the old one and replace it with one of these guys. Don't know why they've included two, but that's very nice of them. But yeah, we'll do all the desoldering and stuff a bit later on. So yeah, I'm going to put this to one side and we can start to dismantle our existing Super Nintendo. So getting into a Super Nintendo is pretty easy. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the game bit screws, which we'll use this screwdriver for. So let's whiz them out. So let's quickly shout out the channel members. These people are the awesome people who've gone one step above subscribing to the channel, and they pay a little bit each month to help keep the lights on around here. If you want to become a channel member, then just scan the QR code in the corner of the screen or follow the link in the video description. Anyway, our channel members at time of editing this week are the Kip fans, who are Matt Lovies, JLC Electrical, For the Burbs, Wayne Cornish, Scott Made a Thing, Michael Wood, Draco MacGyver, Rebecca, Tom Wood and Abigail. Then we've got the amazing Kip Early Birds, who are Tim Salt, Sorcerer Stan, Mark C, Rob Lynn and Will Bennett. And I love these guys and girls so much. They are the Kip lovers, and they are Bella Webster, Stez6Fix, Lawrence, Scott Kendall, Props Retrofix, Chelsea B, DD Media Production, Jay Russell Retro Gaming, and Lee Benz. And then finally, we've got the incredible Kip Nutters right at the top there, and they are Becky Boo Bar, Alan Green, and the My Mate Vince fan club over on Facebook. Anyway, gotta go. Don't know if you noticed there, but I use my LTT precision screwdriver magnetic head bit to get the screws out of there, because the supply tool isn't magnetic, which is fine. Okay, so let's take the top off. So here is the inside of the SNES on the top. Don't think we need to remove any components or anything from this, so that can sort of be set to the side. So I think first of all, I'm going to remove our controller board. And essentially this ribbon cable here just gently pulls out. And we need to take this bit off here, which is that little sort of ferrite guy. Yeah, we need to take this off because it needs to go onto our new one, but we can do that in a mo. So next job is to remove our eject button mechanism. So we've got a new one of these, which has got the clear plastic. And essentially we just need to pull out this little rod on the arm. So the next job here is to take off our power switch. Right, so that is our power switch undone. And then we've got to remove this front bit of shielding here. And that has just got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. I think the screws are all the same length on the Super Nintendo, or most of them are, but I am trying to keep them together just so I know what goes where. Then we remove this piece of shielding. I do have some brass, so I might give that a go on there maybe. So I have got the CPU 02 version of this board. I don't know quite what that means. I'll put on the screen what it means. I think there's a CPU 01 version. We've now got the 1, 2 screws by the cartridge slot to do. Now these cartridge slot screws are slightly different for sure. Yeah, those are much longer. And then now at the back of the case, we've got 1, 2, 3 screws to undo. And I think 2 of them are different from the third. So again, try and keep these in the right order. And while I remember, we'll just take this screw off here, which is for the voltage regulator. The reason we're doing that is because I'm taking the shielding off and it's screwed to the shielding, essentially. Now, if you weren't bothered about your Super Nintendo having this grey bit of plastic on the transparent shell, then you could just pull this out right now and plop it into the other case. But because I'm going for the full conversion, we need to take this bit of shielding off, which you'll see why soon. So there we go, there's our empty shell, but it's not quite empty. We've got these 1, 2 little screw guys here, and we need to retain those, so we can just pop those out because we're going to put those into our new shell. And you know what? I think I'm just going to take the power switch off this so it's not flapping around. So now we're looking at the back of the board and we've got to remove the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. There's only one that's different from the others, it seems, and that's that silver one there. So we'll do that one first. Actually, if you can think of like some mods that can be done to this, do let me know in the comments. There might be a 50 to 60 hertz mod that's doable on the SNES. I recently put out a video on a Master System that I did that on, and I've got another one coming up as well, but I won't tell you about that one because that one's not going to be out yet. Right, so now our shielding, there we go, comes away nicely. What I might do is when I rebuild this, I might just put a little bit of thermal paste on the back of this voltage regulator because I think that they can get quite hot. So yeah, you can see or sort of what the problem is with this back plate is the RF output actually goes through it and the AC input is actually attached to it as well. So you can't just yank it off. We've got to do a little bit of work and we're going to do that with the soldering iron. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to desolder 1, 2 there, which is for our barrel jack, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 there, which is our RF modulator. But yeah, you can see why the RF modulator needs to come out because it's on top of the bit of plastic. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the microscope so you can see the desoldering close up. So I'm going to use this solder wick to try and suck up the solder from the power jack here. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Weirdly therapeutic watching the solder suck into the wick. So now we've got to turn our attention to the 4 pins there. I'm going to use my solder sucker, but if you wanted to use the solder wick like I just did, then that would work just as fine. Okay, so in theory, we should just be able to pull this off now. There we go. We'll put that back on in a mo. Right, I think I just need to give these a little touch with the soldering iron. This is not quite loose yet. Boom. So if we look at our replacements, so now we're left with this and we put our new DC jack into there and our replacement top piece goes something like that. And then we essentially put our RF modulator back in position. Now I think on the Super Famicoms there's a switch there to switch between channel 1 and channel 2 or channel 0 or channel 1 or something. Yeah, channel 1 and channel 2. Now mine doesn't have that. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm using the LTT precision screwdriver case just to sort of stand this up and hold the jack into position while I solder it because otherwise it will just fall out. Should have put some flux on. Tell you what, if you got this far in the video, put "you fluxed it up again, Kip" in the comments. Lots of you liked saying that I'd fluxed it up in a previous video, so I fluxed it up again. I need to put a bit more solder on that, but I'm just put a little bit on just to make sure that I've got this straight and that our replacement bit of plastic fits as it should. Just putting a bit of Captain tape across the board just to hold the RF modulator in position, because obviously when I flip it over I don't want it falling out. So what I'll do now is I'll just go under the microscope and solder everything back into position. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of flux on. If you don't know what flux is, flux essentially makes the solder flow a little bit better and helps join the connections. Nice. We'll just go and double check these guys. Oh yeah, they need a little bit more solder. Now, as you might have noticed, the flux goes a little bit sort of yellow and brown and sort of burns off essentially. So what we do to clean the burnt off flux is we use a little bit of IPA or isopropyl alcohol. So there we go. That is our now transparent back of the case. Now, while we've got the IPA out, we can actually remove this little metal guy from our original board. So if we pull this through and get the existing ribbon cable out, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to put a little sort of soak this adhesive sponge with some IPA in the hopes that that breaks down the adhesive slightly. I assume the point of this is to sort of eliminate magnetic interference through the controllers, maybe. Yeah, it's the bulk of the adhesive off. Not perfect, but not bad. Right, I think we'll just put our metal guy onto our new controller board, threading the cable through so it helps line it up. Keep it straight. There we go. That is on. So now it's time to start putting our Super Nintendo back together in the new transparent case. So the first job to do is to get the sort of heatsink and shield put back on. But before I do that, I'm just going to put a tiny blob of thermal paste onto the back of that voltage regulator. Now, you don't need to do that. I just think it might be a good idea because these do get quite warm. There we go. The imperfect amount of thermal paste. I'm not fully tightening these up. I'm just getting the bulk of them in and then I will fully tighten them up. So now they're sort of all roughly in place, so I can just go around, tighten them all up. Lovely. And then we've just got to put the screw back in on the voltage regulator, and that will smush down our thermal compound. Like I say, you don't need to put the thermal compound on there. I've just done it because I had some knocking around and it just felt like good practice. I don't think there's actually any on there to start with. Now we can start putting things into the case. Before we do that, we need to make sure we put these metallic guys in, and also we take this guy out because that marries onto our new controller board. And yeah, we've just got these little tabs on the top and bottom to push into. Click. Right, so our board can go in now. Now usually when you're screwing into plastic, you can screw backwards and then it will make a click and it will go into the existing thread. But because this is new plastic, we don't have an existing thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get these 3 screws started and then go and gently tighten them up. Right, so now we'll put back in our cartridge slot screws. Again, I'm not putting them fully home into position because we've still got some screws here as well, and I don't want to put too much pressure on the board. So what we'll do now is we'll get our shield in position. I did give it a little bit of clean with some Brassos, come up a treat. I thought if we're going to be having the console so the insides of it can be seen slightly, it should have a little bit of a polish. And it's actually come out pretty good. Right, so now we've got most of the screws roughly in. We can just start tightening things up a little bit more. Don't go too crazy because I don't think it needs it. Just, you know, spread the pressure across the case. Right, then we need to get our power switch back in. And then finally, we've got to put our new controller board and front in. So you've got to make sure that the metal contacts are facing into the console. So now we've got to do our cartridge eject mechanism. So if you look down there, there's a tiny little hole and the spring has to go into that hole. Then we have to put this through, but not fully through because it's got to go through our spring. And then finally, our spring has to go and hook into the back of this bit of plastic. So a little something like that. And there we go, it's now sprung loaded. But you know what we're going to do? I'm going to use the power of YouTube and get the lid on by itself. So when we come back, the case will be finished. Now it's not quite finished because I haven't put the stickers on. I'm going to get Vicky to do that because she's better at that sort of thing than I am. She's a whiz with a Cricut machine and she's used to transferring vinyls and stuff. So I'm going to let her do that, but she's working at the moment and it's not really fair on me to interrupt her work when I'm just dicking around with a SNES. But oh my God, it looks amazing. I am so happy with this. Now the cool thing about this case is the cartridge slot is designed to take both UK, EU cartridges and also the slightly bigger American ones as well. So what I've got here is my EverDrive cartridge that I also got from AliExpress, who are the kind sponsors of this video, and I'll put a link to this in the video description as well. So if we put that in, nice, and we power on, we should have some output to the screen, hopefully. Well, we've got a light, that's a good start. Do we have video output? No. Now we've got output. So let's see what this game is. Oh, it says NTSC, it probably won't load, will it? But at least it's working. I love the little sort of glow of the power light through here. Okay, I've got no idea what this game is. Do you know what game it is? Put it in the comments. I've literally no idea. Oh, there you go. Gundam F91. Looks space shootery. Right, look, it's taking far too long to go into that game, but we know it's working. I'll tell you what, I am super pleased with how this turned out. It's a great little kit, and you get a lot included for your 35 or so pounds. And it just looks so much nicer than the sort of scabby old case that it was in. that is the old case. I really like this. It's just a little bit more interesting and fun. I know I've not really repaired anything in this video, so it's not technically a Fix It Friday, but it looks so cool and I'm pleased with the results. Now, I know that these things can be very subjective and some people will absolutely hate this. If you do, just be kind in the comments because, you know, we all have different tastes, but I am very happy with my choice here. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please do let me know all about it. But I don't think I've got anything else to say, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but for now, it's game over.